Thank you for pressing play, and welcome to another episode of
FanKingHaters,
your weekly fantasy show where we dish out hate on those fantasy players that mess up your FanDuel or your DraftKings lineup. I'm Marcus the Greek. To my left, it's Melodic. To my right, Messiah the One. You can follow us during the games on DraftKings. You know, last week we all ended up in the green, so we ain't got too much of hating to do, but Messiah, you want to tell us about a trend that you noticed last week, though?
Well, my hate was my tight end, and my tight end was Kobe Fleener. So I was. If you
He
guys
was mad that you didn't pronounce his name right.
Right.
Kobe. That was my favorite part of that.
He ended up giving me a big 1.6 points.
Oh man,
Wasn't really hyped up to be what I thought he was on be. So Drew Brees' legacy is still good because he threw to everybody else but the tight end. So he did all right there. That was my hate for the week.
Melodic, how about you?
It's a pick between Flacco and Walford.
Clive.
You can call me
Walford,
Claw.
right? Just because Walford had 5 points,
Yeah.
but at the same time he has Crabtree and Cooper. So I'm not really too disappointed.
Yeah, but you did kind of hype him up.
I did, but I hyped up Flacco even more, and he
You
only
did,
got me
you did,
13
you did.
points
The big purple.
for a quarterback. The
Big
big purple.
purple.
The big purple. He only got me 13 points, so I think the value there is less for Flacco, so he's my hate of the week.
Okay. With your trend, I had to go with Gary Barnage. You know, got me the big goose egg.
Yeah, zero.
Zero. So that's my hate. You know, I think last year, after our first episode, the hate was the tight end. So this year again, the hate's the tight end.
Right. It just looked like the tight ends just didn't show up in the NFL, period. The number one tight end that got big points this weekend was a guy by the name of Doyle, which is like a third string tight end. But what it does show is that Rob Gronkowski is the number one tight end in fantasy in the NFL, period. Because
And didn't even play last week.
Didn't even play because really no tight end really took off and really thought that, you know, it was a good play. There was nobody that was a good play this week at tight end.
Melodic, what's your lineup for this week?
Well, I'm starting out with Wentz, Carson Wentz.
Okay.
He's with the Eagles. I'm just going off of his play last week. Just that's it.
I was impressed. I was.
Rookie, right?
Yeah, he's a rookie. And, you know, he should have been a number one draft pick. But one thing,
Sorry, Rams.
For one thing, if anybody did watch the highlights, the boy put the ball on the money, on stride, and he's NFL ready.
Yeah. No matter what college you go to, if you're good, they gonna find you.
Well, obviously the school that he went to did well. They did go. He went to North Dakota State,
yes,
which won FCS last year, and went into Iowa and won
today.
Right.
Yeah,
so obviously they have something good in the water up there.
Yeah.
And he has the intangibles to be a good quarterback.
Good pick. What about your running backs?
I'm going with Matt Forte and D'Angelo Williams.
And you already know Matt Forte put up 33
33 points.
That's a good pick. That was a good pick.
D'Angelo Williams, you're going against Cincinnati.
Okay.
I think that they're always a good game. I think he'll get some yards like he did last week.
Okay.
I got Cooper, Diggs, and Snead for my wide receivers.
I like that set of receivers. That's a good set.
Yeah, Diggs had a great game last week, so I think he'll repeat. I got Barnage. I'm going with him this week just because McCown is back.
McCown, him and McCown's a good combination. You know, last year when they did come in, that's the only reason why we're talking about Barnage this year.
Yeah,
Because it was, I think it was a 12-point average per game last year.
Oh, okay.
With McCown.
Okay, and you know what? It is a tournament play. A lot of people might stay away from him this week. So, yeah, that might end up being a good play. Or you hate again next week.
I may. If I do hate, I'm going to be really pissed. I probably would have took, like, you know, Jason Witten or somebody. Like we said. No, just because, like we said, tight ends ain't doing nothing right now.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean?
Okay.
And he's a good savior.
It's a flip of a coin right now at tight end.
Right. And then for my flex, I'm going T.J. Yeldon.
Okay, I like that play.
Yeah, he's going against San Diego. I think he's going to get the touches and the yards, the TDs. I think he'll be all right. And then I got the Jaguars.
Okay.
Defense.
They were hyped up in the offseason. They kind of showed up the first week. I think they show up this week.
I think they're a lot better the first 6 games. After game 6, it's when they start to have their problems. People get hurt.
Yeah.
And then they just nosedive.
What you got to think? They played against Aaron Rodgers.
That's true too.
So,
Man, he make anybody look bad.
Right.
Messiah, what's your lineup you going with this week?
Well, I'm going with the Redemption team.
Oh, redemption song.
I thought that, I wanted to go ahead and go with all the players that should have done well in week 1 that didn't do well. Right. So I went ahead and went with Phillip Rivers.
Rivers,
that's a good pick.
He only had 16 points last game. They had a quick start and then it just went to shit for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Running backs on with Devontae Freeman.
I like that pick.
I didn't really have a good game. And Adrian Peterson, I know everybody thinks that.
Big letdown. Switch as I call him.
If he's on your fantasy team and he's starting, do you put him on your bench? Do you let him play? I'm thinking that he's on a bounce back week. I went with double dip with Phillip Rivers, so I went with Travis Benjamin.
Okay.
A guy I'm not really too fond of, but he does get a lot of targets. I went with Michael Floyd for Cardinals.
We always hear about Michael Floyd. He gonna take the next step and this and that. So that might be your hate next this week.
There's a good chance he can. That's the reason I said redemption team. They may not redeem themselves. I went with Emmanuel Sanders, who had a mediocre game last game.
I like that.
I went with Julius Thomas because it's a redemption year for him.
It is.
Everybody without Peyton Manning,
contract,
and without Peyton Manning, who are you?
Yeah.
Right. At my flex, I went with Rashid Jennings. He is going against New Orleans, so that is good.
You know the theme on the show about New Orleans.
Hey, Rob Ryan has his play, and it's still with New Orleans. But he only had 8 points last week, so I'm thinking that this is an opportunity for him to get his stats up and go ahead and hit some of those quotas so you get some of that extra money.
Okay.
And my defense, I went with Carolina. I think they didn't redeem themselves after last week, what C.J. Anderson did to them. Hopefully they have a good turnout at home and play good ball.
I like that redemption lineup, man. That's a good lineup. I'm going with the theme of our show from my lineup. We always talk about the Saints, and I know it hurts you Saints fans. So I'm rolling out the book of Eli this week, going against the Saints. I'm expecting big things, just to play, triple stacking, going to be the first triple stack of the season. So I threw Rashard Jennings in there, like I said, Saints game. I kind of went with T.J. Yeldon, no Chris Ivory. I think he has a big game. And then to complete that triple stack, I went with OBJ. If Cooper and Crabtree had a good game, he should have a phenomenal game. Right. Then I did something, too, that I hate doing that I'm not too fond of as well. Pick the Cowboy.
That's what I'm talking about.
Went with Cole Beasley. That's a rivalry game.
That's a great pick. He's probably the top receiver on the offense right now.
Here we go.
Des Bryant didn't do nothing. I don't think he will do nothing because of the new quarterback. So Beasley's a slot. He's a little dude. Always going to get
agreeing
open.
with me. He's agreeing for me. So that's a good pick. And then I also went with Emmanuel. Play action pass, set up with the run. We're going to be running heavy. So I went with that. And then for my tight end, going with your theme as well, redemption. He was hyped up. He was, the leading tight end last year in targets. I think he has to bounce back. The Colts, I think, gave up 3 touchdowns last week to tight end. So I think Delanie Walker gets in there and gets a touchdown. And then for my flex, I went with the Black Greek. Going against the Falcons, their defense, I don't think they can stop anybody. I'd probably get in there and get a touchdown in the red zone on them. And then for my defense, I went with the Ravens. They're playing the Browns, backup quarterback. They held T-Mobile and Shady to 7 yards, 160 points. 160 yards, and 7 points. So that's the lineup I'm running out there with. As usual, we like to say thank y'all for pressing play. What's the Twitter?
The Twitter is at FanKingHaters. YouTube, search FanKingHaters.
Yes, sir.
Check out last season. There's about 20 episodes. Check out the first episode this season, last week. It's up there.
And on that Twitter, hit us in the DM. Give us your DraftKings username. We'll add you, get in our tournament. More of us in the tournament, more of the pot. You can compete against us. We'll talk about you on the show if you win, hate on you if you win. Thank you for pressing play.
And we play for real because it's winner take all. So 1, 2, 3. No, it's winner take all. And a side note before he goes off, starts talking crap. Doug Martin didn't become my hate. He wasn't my hate last year either. So both of them can.
Anyways, I just want to put a little side note. Rob Ryan, he is a plague. I'm a Saints fan. I like the Saints. but he's plagued my team to have the worst defense of last year. And if you paid attention, he's doing the same thing to Buffalo. So keep that in mind going forward. Buffalo, New Orleans. Watch the theme. By the end of the season, you will be agreeing, and hopefully you'll be tweeting and saying, that guy Messiah knows what he's talking about. Till next time.